Oh, hi, Antonio Aragon.
Marissa Mercado.
And Dieu.
And for today's episode, we will be discussing the importance of the college entrance exam. And this goes for different nations. So we have America,
Japan.
and
China.
And so for today's episode, we don't have Christian and Reyna here with us today, but they'll be at the end, I believe. So let's start off with Antonio.
Okay, for me, I'd like to talk about Japan's entrance exams. They are very difficult, and it depends how good you make on these tests and what type of colleges you go to. So, the higher your score is on the exam, okay, and plus you can only take these exams like every semester. Does anybody want to discuss with me about how
Can you be like more descriptive about the exam? Like, what are the components of the exam?
Well, the components are they have a math section, a reading, and a writing, and an English section because over there they have to learn English for language.
And so, is it like similar to the PSAT or what?
No, it's actually much more difficult than that. Like over there, they take education very seriously, so it'd be on another level than what we have here.
So, what happens if you fail this exam or not get a good grade?
You wouldn't be able to go to college, and you have to retake it. And I think it costs. I don't know. It doesn't really say the price here, but it costs like.
You know how long the test is?
It says around 3 to 4 hours.
Okay. So, Andrew, your turn.
Okay.
Go.
So China's college entrance exam is called Gaokao, which means high test. About 3.7 million of the students are expected to eventually enroll in undergraduate examinations after the exams this year. The exam is considered the pivotal moment for Chinese students as their scores, in large, determine their future and which universities and institutions they'll be admitted. The test lasts for 2 days for a total of 9 hours. And girls are even given contraceptive pills to delay their periods until after the exam. This has led to protests by migrant working families demanding the right for their children to take the exams and be considered for enrollment in Beijing and Shanghai. There has been lots of protests by parents in in other Chinese countries as well. It covers 3 subjects: Chinese, mathematics, and English, and also 1 comprehensive subject, depending which the student chooses. What do you have to say about this?
The contraceptive thing.
Yes,
Very disturbing.
I find that interesting. I know I'm a female, but like, what do contraceptives have to do about periods?
Well, actually, it slows them down.
Because what I would think is okay, this is gonna get into a weird topic, but normally if you were on your period, wouldn't you still be able to take a test? You could just take pain pills.
Yeah, but I think for them, I think it would be like a distraction because they don't want them to be distracted at all. Like no pain at all. Like just not to even think about it. Just like do the test.
And why does the test have to be 2 hours? I mean 2 days, right? 2 days?
Yeah.
All right.
It's 9 hours.
9 hours a day.
No, 9 hours.
Over. Okay.
Yeah.
So for us,
Wait, over 2 days?
Yeah.
Okay.
we take the start 4 hours, and any other test normally would last maybe 4 hours as well. That's not as long as theirs.
Sure.
That's why they split it in 2 days.
But still, the contraceptive.
Yeah, normally we could take one of these things one day.
Yeah.
which is what I'm saying. Anyways, I have a question for both of you. Why did both of you decide to choose Asian countries?
Because
Speak up,
before we did any of
Speak up,
this,
please.
okay, before we did any of this, we usually know how hard it is for Asian countries to have more rigorous and strict tests, like for China and Japan.
Yeah, and with Mr. Kim in Korea, I learned a lot about how education is in Asia. So I found it interesting.
Me too. Okay, now for Marissa's turn.
Okay, so I'm doing the college entrance. I can't say entrance for some reason. Entrance exam for America. We actually just got through college and career week at our school, so we learned a lot. So for us, the main ones are the PSAT or the NMSQT, the SAT reasoning test, the ACT, and the SAT subject test. So the main ones that you might know of are the PSAT, the SAT, and the ACT. So if you don't know what the PSAT is basically a prep for the SAT, and these are normally, I think this test shouldn't take more than about 2 to 3 hours.
Wait, so the SAT or
The PSAT.
4 hours?
Yeah, I would say it's around maybe 4 hours or less. And normally you get tested on reading, math, writing. Is that it? Yeah, so there's a section where it's math. There's a section math with no calculator, and then there's a reading comprehension section, and then a writing section where it's like editorial stuff. So normally, anyone eligible to take the PSAT is in 9th, 10th, and 11th grade. And normally in 9th and 10th grade, they don't affect you that much. But in 11th grade especially, when you take it, your scores, depending on the test, get colleges to notice you. And so colleges will start, sending you information, wanting you to join and stuff. And this sort of preps you for the SAT, which is the most serious one. Your scores on the SAT are basically what gets you into colleges. So the PSAT and SAT are pretty much the exact same thing, except the PSAT doesn't matter as much. So on the SAT, it's what admits you into college. So depending on colleges, depending on their, what are they called again? Antonio, what are the depending on college requirements, if you're not in top 10%, like especially here in Texas where you're not guaranteed admission, you have to get certain scores on the SAT, which prohibit you into getting in. So I want to know your thoughts about that, since you guys are going to have to, we take the PSAT on the 24th of this month. So what do you think about that? What do you think about the PSAT?
I think the PSAT is very, it can be very difficult, and I think it puts a lot of pressure on us since we have to do very well. And it also, how high or how good we do on this test is, it will all go to what college we ever go to, or how colleges looks at us.
Look at us. Andrew? What do you...
I think the PSAT is really stressful for us students, the PSAT and the SAT, because it's going to determine what college we get into and what colleges we don't. And it's also really hard because they don't give you that much time to do each section of the test. So yeah.
So like Antonio, how were your scores freshman year and sophomore year?
Pretty average. I got like,
You got like an 800, right?
no, 1,000.
1,000. You sure?
Or 900, I think.
Okay. You? Oh, Andrew doesn't know his scores. See, you should know your scores so you can know whether.
Hey guys, what's up? It's your boy Christian here, alongside Reyna. Oh, I'm sorry. What is your name?
My name is Reyna Garcia, and today we'll be discussing.
College entrance examination.
So, for many years, it has been a problem because many students see it as useless and as them not learning anything from them, and teachers focusing more on what's on the test rather than seeing if they understood the actual subject.
In this segment, we will be discussing everything wrong with standardized testing and college entrance examinations and why these should not be used in the education systems everywhere. Because I feel that it's more of a hindrance to education rather than a supplement to education. Do you agree?
Exactly. Like, even in my first source, when I asked my parents about it, they said that schools focus more on standardized testing rather than the actual subject matter.
Yes, I agree. They do. And I know a lot of teachers at my school, the Houston Academy for International Studies, who have said the same thing. And they all feel that, we put too much emphasis into education. And I'm not trying to make this a political speech, by no means. But what I'm trying to say is that kids are killing themselves nowadays because they're too worried about the test and they're too worried about not scoring right.
People stress themselves out over it, over a simple test. Well, I'm not sure if it's simple, for certain kids it's not. And some people don't even know
And that's the
how
problem.
to do grading tests, and that's not their fault. It's just that they're not accustomed to it as well, Something else we would like to discuss is how standardized testing has played a part in other countries, such as China. Christian.
Yes, this was discussed in the earlier segment of the podcast already, but I kind of want to put my input on it because I know a lot of people in China. So, I know one of my friends told me that the Gaokao, which is the college entrance examination for the PRC, is very stressful, and that's it. Whereas in the U.S. we have the SAT and we have other supplemental things to get you into college. Over there, it's just one test. You can have whatever GPA you want, but it's just one test. And if you fail that one test, you basically have lost your life and you're going to go work in the fields all day.
Exactly. Like, it's not like over here where the SAT, you could retake it as many times as you want. While as in over there, as Christian mentioned, it could ruin your whole career, or it could have a big effect rather than over here.
Yes. I feel like over here testing is serious, but it's not as serious. But over there, people die every day, and that is not something we should be proud of as people, because as people we need to make sure that we improve education as much as we can.
Exactly. And a thing that we need to consider is that education is something that shouldn't be taken as a joke. Like, even though we have many opportunities to retake the test, it's still something that we shouldn't be taking advantage of. Instead we should strive to improve our SAT scores to get into more top tier colleges.
Yeah, I agree. So from this point on, we're finally going to discuss how we truly feel about education. And I have to say that education has a lot of downfalls and a lot of stuff that we have to fix.
Exactly.
Do you feel that education systems around the world have a lot of work to do?
Could you repeat that again?
Yes, I can. Do you feel that education systems around the world have a lot of work to do in regards to improvement? Take two.
I think that they do have to improve in certain aspects, such as not focusing so much on the material on a test, because I feel like that takes away creativity, from in the classrooms, as we previously discussed, So I think they have to improve on not focusing so much on the test material, because that takes away creativity from the classrooms, as we previously discussed, and it doesn't really allow for a student to learn as much as they should, nor does it allow them. And yeah.
Well, let me ask you this. So, in our first episode, we viewed international education. In our second episode, we viewed education then and now. Do you feel that education changes not only by time, but by place?
I think it does
Sorry.
change by time and by place, because even before we discussed how in the years before us, there wasn't really many subjects that we could take, and now they've expanded it to more like AP Calculus and Pre-Calculus, and before it was just like Algebra 1 and Algebra 2, or like just regular math, So they've really added more courses. And not only that, depending on the place you're at, you decide, well, it's decided for you which tests you have to take,
Yeah, I do know.
But what do you think about this, Christian?
I'm glad you asked. Okay, well, I've seen a lot through these 3 podcasts, and I've gotten a lot of interviews. I've asked a lot of questions, but I have to say that education should not be standardized around the world, but what it should be is changed around the world, because I don't know how to say this, but every place needs different skill sets. Like, not all skill sets will work in every country. So it's important to know different skill sets, and it's important to know how to live where you're at, and that's the way that education should function.
So based on your knowledge on this, based on what you just said, what do you think would happen if we take out the SAT? What would be a backup plan?
That's the hard part, is there is no backup plan. We can create a test for everything, and we still wouldn't be able to do it. But the true feeling of how I feel is that although education does have its own limitations, testing should not be the way that we avoid these limitations. We got to think of a more creative way to actually address the problem at hand, and that's making sure that everybody has the knowledge. Hate to break it to you, George Bush, but the No Child Left. And to wrap up, I'll let you ask me one last question.
If you had the choice to go to another state or country because of their testing ways, where would you go, Christian? Where would you go?
I have to say I'd go to China.
Why?
Because I feel that China has a really good education system in the way that they do things. Now, they do have some things to fix, but they really do try to teach their kids as much as they need to learn. And I feel like that would be the best fit for me, because I learned my best there. Like, for example, when I was in Shanghai learning Chinese, I learned a lot there about the culture, I learned a lot about the people, and I learned more about stuff that I wasn't planning to learn. And I feel that that's the one place where I thrived. Now, Reyna, I'm gonna ask you the same question. Where do you that you would get the best education at?
Honestly, I don't know, because I haven't traveled as much, or I don't really know much about the education system. I recently just started learning more about it, and based on what you said, I don't think it would be China though, because if I only get one chance at taking a test, I don't think I would do so great, considering how I'm not really a good test taker.
Interesting thoughts. Well, thank you for joining us for the podcast.
Thank you.
We feel that we have done a lot to put this together, and we want to thank everybody who helped us put this together. Our teachers, my friends from China, friends from around the world, parents, and most importantly, you, the listener. Because without you, we cannot thrive. And
Thank you.
for Reyna Garcia, I'm Christian Acosta.